The EU Council has approved a statement of intent regarding the EU's future climate targets, Nationally Determined Contribution, NDC, as part of its obligations under the Paris Agreement. This statement is not yet the formal submission, but outlines that the EU intends to set its post-2030 emission reduction goals ahead of COP30. Some key points. The EU aims for a 66.25% to 72.5% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2035 compared to 1990 levels. All 27 member states support this statement of intent. It reflects a collective move toward clearer and more ambitious climate action. The EU reaffirms its target of 55% reduction by 2030 and its commitment to the Paris Agreement goals, especially keeping temperature rise well under 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The formal NDC submission will happen later. This statement helps signal where the EU is heading, and it will guide its positions at upcoming UN and international climate fora. 5-minute audio script. Opening, Shash 30 seconds. Hello and thank you for joining us. Today's headline from Brussels. The European Union has taken an important step in shaping its climate future. The EU Council has approved a statement of intent on its post-2030 climate commitments, a signal that member states intend to push for stronger greenhouse gas cuts in the next decade. While this is not the formal plan yet, it plays a critical role as the world heads into COP30. Background approximately 1 minute. To understand why this matters, we need to go back to the Paris Agreement. Under that treaty, countries set nationally determined contributions, NDCs, for greenhouse gas emission reductions, with new targets every 5 years. The EU's current target is a 55% reduction by 2030 compared to 1990. But as global warming accelerates and as expectations rise, there is pressure on the EU to set bolder goals for 2035 and beyond. COP30 is approaching. That's the United Nations' next major climate conference. So nations are under scrutiny to clarify their ambitions. Internally, the EU has to balance environmental responsibility with economic, industrial, and social concerns. That's why this statement of intent is both strategic and symbolic. Details of the statement, approximately 2 minutes. What specifically is in the statement of intent? 1. Emissions reduction range for 2035. The EU plans for a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 66.25% to 72.5% by 2035 compared to 1990 levels. This is significantly more ambitious than many past targets. 2. Reaffirming existing goals. The 2030 target of 55% remains confirmed. The statement underscores that the EU is on track with its 2030 goals and reaffirms its aim toward long-term goals, including alignment with the 2050 climate neutrality objective. 3. Unity among member states. All 27 EU countries supported the statement. That shows a degree of political cohesion, which is important because climate targets are often delayed or weakened by internal divisions. Possible impacts and challenges, approximately 1 minute. What this could mean and what obstacles might lie ahead. Political momentum. This move strengthens the EU's moral and diplomatic standing in climate negotiations. It could encourage other countries to raise their ambitions. Domestic policy changes. To meet a 66 to 72% cut by 2035, many EU states will need to accelerate their transition in energy, transport, industry, housing, and agriculture. Investments will have to increase. Regulations may tighten. Economic implications. Businesses may need to adapt faster. Some industries might face costs or disruption, especially if carbon pricing increases or stricter environmental rules kick in. But there are opportunities too. Green tech, renewable energy, clean hydrogen, and sustainable practices could see growth. Internal disagreements. Despite unanimous support for the statement, there's always a tension between environmental goals and economic and industrial competitiveness, especially in countries with heavy industry or fossil fuel dependence. Ensuring fairness and addressing economic impacts will be key. 4. Role in international fora. The statement will be communicated to the UNFCCC and will guide the EU's representation at COP30 and at other global climate summits. While it's not yet the formal NDC, it sets a trajectory.